Welcome to episode 2 of Shameless Cashgrab. The next movie in the Strange Things set from Mill Creek Entertainment is a movie called Spacehunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone from 1983, starring Peter Strauss and Molly Ringwald. Peter Strauss from I have no idea, but I'm sure once I see his face I'll recognize him. I'll be all, hey, it's that guy! In fact, I expect to see a lot of hey, it's that guys in these movies, and I imagine everybody knows who Molly Ringwald is. So, I'll be watching this movie pretty soon, but you folks at home, or on your phones I suppose, will be finding out what I think about it in about a second or so. Okay, so now I've seen Spacehunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. Before I get into what I thought of it, let me just go ahead and give you the plot summary, courtesy of ye olde Wikipedia. Heads up, this is a much more detailed and spoilerific one than the one on the page for Pulse. In fact, I had to edit down and make it shorter. This is making me have second thoughts about including the wiki summary in these episodes. Anyway, set in the early 22nd century, the film opens with the destruction of a space cruise liner that becomes irreparably damaged and destroyed by a bolt of nebular lightning. I think Nebular Lightning is going to be the name of my Yes cover band. The only apparent survivors are three beautiful women, Nova, Rena, and Megan. And now that I think about it, did they ever actually say their names in their films, or was that just in the credits? They were the MacGuffin anyway. Nova, Rena, and Megan, who get away in an escape pod and land on the nearest habitable planet. There they are quickly accosted by the hostile natives and taken aboard a sail-driven vehicle resembling a pirate ship on rails. In space, an alert goes out for the safe return of the women with a reward of 3,000 mega credits. A small-time salvage operator named Wolf intercepts the message and heads to the planet. Joining him is his female engineer Chalmers, who learns the planet, called Terra 11, is a failed colony that fell victim to a deadly plague and civil warfare. After landing on the barren world, Wolf and Chalmers set out in a vehicle called the Scrambler. Soon they join a battle in progress between a group of marauders and a band of nomads, and Ernie Hudson and Michael Ironside and Molly Ringwald are in this movie. This plot summary is boring me. I'm not going to read any more of this. This is way too long. This is supposed to be a summary, Wikipedia. Alright. As for the movie itself, first off, I did not know that Ivan Reitman was involved with this. But his name does come up first after the Columbia Pictures logo. Considering I don't hear this movie's name get dropped a lot when talking about Reitman's iconic works, that was not a good sign for me going in. But, yeah. Also, it is really obvious from just the title sequence alone that this movie was originally released in 3D. I mean, I also knew that because I looked at the Wikipedia, but... The plot summary I read part of, did not do the intro justice. That space cruise liner was destroyed so quickly that literally the automated warning to the passengers to get to the escape pods got cut off. It's kind of hard not to laugh at the sequence, really. I mean, I know the TV tropes entry, no OSHA in the future as a thing, but wow. This is like the worst case of starship safety I have ever seen, and that's including the lack of rails on the Death Star. And speaking of spaceships, oh god, the hero's ship looks so stupid. I don't even know where to start. Maybe, to be fair, maybe I'm just spoiled because of the great-looking spaceships of other 80s sci-fi movies, like the Gunstar from The Last Starfighter, the Star Trek and Star Wars sequels that came out in the 80s, but, no. It just looks stupid. I mean, I suppose it's a good thing that we don't spend the whole movie with the thing. More on that in a minute. And then there's the car, the Scrambler that was mentioned in the summary, and... Okay, you know what, no. If I dwell on how ridiculous all the vehicles in this movie looked, we'd be here all day. The car, however, I know, I'm still talking about it, is more important than the spaceship, because even though the movie is called Spacehunter, and it opens in space, before we even hit the 15-minute mark, this movie goes from space adventure to Mad Max ripoff with lasers really quick. And yes, the movie called Spacehunter Hunter remains planetside for the vast majority of the movie. In fact, we don't get to space again until like the last 30 seconds before the credits. That would be like if the entirety of Star Wars A New Hope took place in Mos Eisley. So after an epic, in the strongest air quotes possible, fight scene between two gangs that are our hero for the story, played by Peter Strauss, who I still don't recognize from anything. I'll look him up on IMDb before I finish the review. We learn a valuable lesson. Don't use sound effects to imply the MacGuffin characters' necks have been snapped when they're going to turn up alive later. Seriously, who approved of sound editing on that scene? I'd honestly thought that our MacGuffins had just been killed off before the 20-minute mark, and it's just like, well, then what the hell else? What was even the point of any of this? Yeah. But after that sequence, we get to meet Molly Ringwald's character, but honestly, she's so annoying, I want to talk about her as little as possible. And then after her, we meet Ernie Hudson, who somehow manages to look older than he did in Ghostbusters, even though this came out a year before, but whatever. He's actually one of the better parts of this movie. The banter between him and Peter Strauss's character, between Wolf, it is genuinely funny most of the time. I liked it, especially during their first scene together. And seeing as that scene was actually intended to be funny, that is a point for the movie right there. Oh yeah, and sometime after that I hit something of a personal landmark as a film watcher, because I'm fairly confident now that this is my first time seeing a day for night shot outside the context of an episode of MST3K or the Cinema Snob. But, since I mentioned a point for the movie, I suppose I should talk about knocks against the movie, one being how long it takes for us to get to Michael Ironside. More than halfway through. Not even kidding. Like 46 minutes into a 90-minute movie. That's a major strike right there. Because as anyone who knows their character actors can tell you, Michael Ironside often improves just about any movie he's in just by being there. I mean, hell, Highlander 2 only avoids being the worst Highlander movie for two reasons. One of those is that Highlander the Source exists, but the other one is Michael Ironside. In this movie, Ironside plays the main bad guy of the movie, who calls himself Overdog. Okay, not exactly in the top of Wasteland dictator names, is it? Certainly not in Morton Joe, but it turns out the three Earth women from the escape pod mentioned way back in the plot summary have been brought to him by the gang of bad guys who I honestly barely remember the name of it. Zoners, I think they were called. Zoners. And at that point the movie it's a little rapey. Only implied, so I don't think I need to put a strong trigger warning on that. Maybe a content warning. But speaking, still on the subject of the bad guy. Oh, wow. Bad makeup, floating around in an overdesigned fish tank, and doing the Christian Bale in the Dark Knight thing with his voice. Not a high point either for film villains or for Michael Ironside. And again, I would remind everyone that noise is coming from an ice cream truck that plays Christmas music all year round. Okay, it's past now. Where was I? Oh yeah, Michael Ironside. I would remind you that he was the bad guy in Highlander 2. That bad guy was a better bad guy than the bad guy in Spacehunter, Adventures in the Desert, because that's honestly what they should have called it, because, Desert was in the Forbidden Zone. I'm nitpicking now. Let's see, along the way, our heroes, Wolf and whatever the hell Molly Ringwald's character's name was, I don't really remember, they run into Amazons, who we only see for about a minute, and a monster dragon kind of thing for about a minute. And then, the bad guys, the monsters that look like rejected prototypes for the Fat Bastard prosthetics from the Austin Powers sequels. That one falls into the category of unintentionally funny, unlike the Peter Strauss-Ernie Hudson interaction from earlier in the film. And then we go from there to a Thunderdome knockoff for the climax. Nope, I stand corrected. Thunderdome came out 2 years after Spacehunter adventures in having a broken spaceship that is nowhere near as charming as the Millennium Falcon. But, Yeah, it's honestly, I think it's about this point where I kind of just stopped taking notes and just started making jokes that unfortunately I can't really share with you because you would lack any of the context for them to be funny. I really hope that if MST3K gets a season 12, oh, by the way, season 11 on Netflix, awesome! But yeah, if they get a season 12, I so hope that Spacehunter gets added to the list of movies that they riff on because, I wish I could share some of the jokes. I also wish I could remember some of the jokes because I didn't write any of them down. In hindsight, that was a mistake. The good guys win. No real sequel bait to think of. Thank goodness. And no, yeah, that's just pretty much it. Yeah. Stranger Things similarities. Search me. Near as I can tell, the thought process here at Mill Creek was: is it from the 80s? Is it genre? Do we have the rights? Great. Slap it on. Final verdict. This is not a good movie. It is not even a passable movie like Pulse was. It's a bad movie, but mercifully. It's bad in the fun ways. In fact, I would love it if this movie got to be on the next season of the new MC3K, like I said before. The intended laughs rarely land outside of Ernie Hudson's scenes, but the unintentionally funny parts make up for some of that. The action set pieces are pretty weak, even by 1980 standards, but again, there's laughs to be had there too, at just how utterly inept the execution was. So, it's worth watching, just don't make my mistake and watch it alone. This is definitely prime riffing material here. And like I said, I came up with some zingers I'm really proud of, that I, again, can't share because, one, I didn't write them down, and two, they're not that funny without context anyway. So yeah, get a group of friends together, and if you can find this movie, I suppose if you have to, get it through legal means, and have at it. Oh, right, Peter Strauss. Oh, the older picture of him actually looks a little bit more familiar. Oh, he largely seems to do theater now. He was in Nick of Time. I've seen that. With Johnny Depp and Christopher Walken. Oh, that was... I don't remember who he played, but that was... Let's see. He was on Law & Order SVU. Biker Mice from Mars. Nice. Triple X, State of the Union. That was the one with Ice Cube. But on Classic Law & Order. Godzilla the series. Okay. Incredible Hulk. The animated one from the 90s. Okay. Duckman. Okay. Oh, he was the narrator of Duckman? Oh, wow. I had no idea. I liked Duckman. That show was funny. Okay, but yeah, it starts to get into the older stuff. I don't recognize a lot of this. But yeah, it's been forever since I've seen Nick of Time, so I have no idea who the hell he played in that one. But Nick of Time was a pretty good movie. I don't know if I'll ever be able to watch it again now that I know what a complete asshole Johnny Depp is, but... Okay, enough of that. Next episode's going to be a little bit different from this and the previous one. Because the next movie in the Strange Things set, Crawl, is a movie that I've actually seen before. One of two movies I've seen prior to buying the set. The other being Slipstream, but that one's a ways off. So, when you hear the Crawl episode, don't be surprised if it is wildly different from this one, because I just told you it's going to be wildly different than this one. Wow, I really should script these things better.